Your family, your health, our passion. This is Family Practice with Dr. Jeffrey Fox, sponsored by Family Practice Associates of Lexington, PSC. Visit us at fpalex.com and like us on Facebook.
Welcome back. My next guest is Mr. Raleigh Kincaid, who is our marriage and family therapist at Family Practice Associates and our mental health expert for mental health awareness in May. Now, when I asked you to be on the show, I said, well, send me some topics you can talk about. And you send me a list here, but one of them was when your life goes off script. What do you do?
Well, that's, people tend to sort of order their lives by what they expect is going to happen. I'm going to do this, and I'm going to go to college, and I'm going to get married, and things like that. But then life intervenes and something happens. Say, for example, COVID-19 was a terrific example of life going off script. And that chaos that ensues after that, and then restructuring yourself and reordering yourself so you get some sort of sense of direction, can be a really complicated time mental health-wise, as well as other ways. When
you say mental health, anxiety, depression, OCD, I mean, what do you mean?
Yeah, all the above. Well, those things are just things that are not, they're impairments. They get in the way of how we operate in our day-to-day living, whether we worry too much about the past, worry too much about the future, whether we obsess about something that does not deserve that level of attention. And then the disorders like bipolar disorder and kind of some of the larger things that we deal with in the mental health world. But essentially, everybody has a little something, but the issue is how much is it getting in your way? How much is it impairing your life the way you want it to be lived?
How do you know?
Well, sometimes you don't. Sometimes it's the people around you that have to say, something seems off. And I see lots of people who, a family member, a spouse, a loved one, a parent said, you don't seem yourself lately. And then when they sort of step back and think about them, they start to notice the signs themselves. And that's hopefully when they will seek help, although sometimes it's a hard sell.
And if you go, let's say, terribly the other way and think about suicide, there's some new things for suicide prevention, 988, or tell me about that.
Yeah, the 988 program, which was National Institute of Health implemented a few years ago. And I really like this because it obviously draws off the ease of the 911 emergency number, 988, for somebody, whether it be yourself or somebody you know and love that you feel is getting near the worrying about suicidal ideation, the possibility of suicidal acts and attempts. Then the 988 resource is 24/7. Call that number. They will gather some information from you. They will direct you to an appropriate person, maybe even somebody, like myself, an interventionist, maybe more specific than myself, that will help either talk you through or guide you to local resources where you are. So it's a really tremendous service.
It can either be a caregiver or a patient.
Caregiver, patient, or a loved one.
Okay.
I mean, if you're worried about your spouse or enough to be worried, if you can call, and they will listen to you and help guide you to what's the next step if there needs to be one.
Okay. Now you also gave me some other topics here, and one of them is the myths about what strength is and is not. And that kind of plays into what we're talking about.
Yeah, the whole mental health awareness thing. It's better than it used to be. That is, there's still people out there who believe that there's no such thing as depression or anxiety or ADHD or bipolar disorder. If you're strong enough, if you're tough enough, you just work through those things and you just keep on going. And that's starting to change a little bit, although in our part of the world, that mentality still is alive and well in a lot of corners. People who just don't want to accept the fact that this is something that is that there's no shame in asking for help.
And that's really that is strength, asking for help.
Every time, and that's the myth, is that it's weak to ask for help, when in fact you're exactly right. There's nothing stronger than being vulnerable enough to ask somebody or to tell somebody, hey, I'm struggling over here, can you help me?
Well, there's a couple other topics here we may get to, but I want to take a minute here to talk about your blog.
Yeah.
Because these things we're talking about here and so many other things, you write a wonderful blog that is worth reading. Tell me a little bit about how you do that and how you get your topics.
Well, how I get my topics, that's just, I think I do one a month, so I have essentially 30 days to think about what I might be writing about next. But a lot of it comes out of what happens in the therapy room, things that occur, ideas that come to me, new ways of approaching old topics that occur to me. And then once a month I will take 3 or 4 paragraphs and just sort of expand on an idea of whether it be relationships or mental health specifically, or all sorts of things related to what I do in my work.
You get that at the Family Practice Associates website, fpalex.com.
Right.
And how do they? Is it on there?
Under patient resources, and there's a one says blog, and it'll take you to a page. And I've been doing them for years, so there are probably maybe close to 100 of those 4-paragraph blogs. So, and you can't always tell from the title what I'm writing about, so you might just have to read a little bit.
Well, I appreciate you coming in. I appreciate your blog. And if you haven't read the blog, you ought to do it, because I've been through it. It's well worth doing. Thanks.
Thank you.
We'll be right back.